Troika summit of the Southern African Development Community is due to begin in Maputo today. In fact, this extraordinary summit comes after immense international pressure on the regional bloc to find ways to counter the rapidly growing Islamic State-linked insurgency in Mozambique's northern province of Cabo Del Gado. A major attack by insurgents last month resulted in the capture of the coastal town of Palma, that's next to the country's border with Tanzania. A number of people were killed in that attack, including one South African. Liesl Louw-Vauldran is a senior researcher at the Institute for Security Studies that joins us now to discuss the expectations from this extraordinary summit. Liesl, always great to get your insights. Thanks very much for making time. There had been two other summits to do with the situation in Cabo Del Gado before. Do we dare put hopes on this particular one, that it will result in anything substantial, given the inaction we've seen from SADC so far?
Yes, I think we can this time around hope for something more substantial, as you say, because this is actually the first double-troika summit that we've had on the situation in Mozambique. So the other summits last year were the Organ on Politics, Defense and Security, 3 heads of state. South Africa is part of that troika as the incoming chair from August this year, and then Botswana is chairing with Zimbabwe, the outgoing previous chair. But now you have, SADC it's quite a complicated system, but you have the troika of SADC chaired by Mozambique this year until August then, and Tanzania outgoing, and Malawi, the incoming. Tanzania and Malawi actually being the 2 countries that are bordering that northern part of Mozambique where the crisis is, so very important for them also to be here. So you would have, we're not sure exactly how many heads of state will be. If the new Tanzanian president comes, it will be her first trip out of the country. But in any case, you'd have 6 countries present at this afternoon in the double troika. So the troika will meet this morning. And we do see from the statements yesterday from, so the foreign ministers met yesterday, the executive secretary of SADC, Dr. Tax, she made some statements that do indicate, she spoke about a coordinated regional security plan. She spoke about humanitarian response from the region. As you said, there's a lot of pressure on SADC now to come up with something concrete.
There's a lot of emphasis on this being called a double troika meeting. For those who don't understand why that's significant, get us a sense of why we should pay attention to that.
Yes, as I said last year, it was the organ troika, and now it will be a double troika, so 6 heads of state. It's not unusual. In fact, last year at the ISS, we've been writing press releases and calling on a double troika because it does lend a bit more weight to the issue. But I've been to some double troika meetings on Zimbabwe, on Lesotho. It's not unusual. It's just you have all the heads, 16 member states of SADC when there's a summit once a year, but then when something serious happens and decisions needs to be made in between, then you have a double troika usually.
Given that then, what ought to be at the top of their agenda? Some kind of humanitarian assistance or ironing out plans for a militarized intervention?
Yes, it's difficult to say, but from what we understand, the security situation is really urgent. It's urgent that the people in, let's say, Pemba, which is the regional capital, further south from Palma, need to be protected. That area and some of the other ports, and of course Palma needs to be secured urgently. So there could be some urgent action and then a plan on the place for some kind of SADC deployment. That takes quite a long time because there needs to be joint planning and exercises, etc. We know there is a SADC standby force, but it basically exists on paper. So these, let's say, for example, in Eastern DRC, we have a SADC force that's part of the UN force. There's Malawi, Tanzania, and South Africa. So they, in fact, people are saying if we are going to deploy in Mozambique, we'd have to withdraw some of our troops from the Eastern DRC. But so we need quite a long process, and then of course, who's going to finance this? Such kind of SADC standby force type deployments are very, very costly.
Yeah.
So we could see a combination of urgent measures, humanitarian measures to help people by SADC, together with partners who are already there, actually the UN and so on, and then some kind of announcement of a more longer-term deployment or a plan.
I mean, whatever happens, there are various balls to try keep in the air. I'm going to hone in on just two of them. We've seen a great reluctance, if you like, from Maputo to have any kind of foreign interference. And that might be because of the business interests at the heart of what's taken place, specifically in Cabo Del Gado. We know, for instance, Total had a massive project there that it now had to halt. There's big money involved here. How ought Maputo react to something like this double-troika, not only for this business interest, but of course for the interests of the people living in the hardest hit regions of that country?
Yes, I think the fact that the summit is taking place now, it's in Maputo, hopefully all the obstacles that were there up to now would have been removed. I mean, there were people saying a couple of weeks ago, or even very recently, that SADC should just go in, whether Maputo and Mozambique likes it or not. I don't think, even at the AU level, heads of state don't function that way. It's all through negotiation, diplomatic pressure, etc. So Mozambique, who, as you say, have been really reluctant to cooperate, to accept foreign troops on its soil. In fact, President Nyusi said that just a couple of days ago again, that any military response should be led by Mozambicans. But for now, I think while Mozambique a couple of months ago could have still have said, no, we can handle this. In fact, we are going to very soon be one of the richest countries in SADC because we've got $60 billion of investment. That is no longer the case. As you said, the Total has now temporarily withdrawn all its personnel from that area. They could restart it offshore, the liquid natural gas. So the situation has changed for Mozambique. I think it has probably got little choice than accepting a SADC plan. Whether it would accept a SADC standby force with troops from South Africa and other countries on its soil in Cabo Del Gado, that's another story. We'll have to see when the announcement comes later today.
Absolutely, a big story worth our attention, not only because of our geopolitical ties to Mozambique, but certainly because of some of the humanitarian issues there. Thanks very much for your insight. Always great chatting to you. Liesl Louw-Vauldran is with the Institute for Security Studies. In fact, she's a senior researcher there. Liesl, once again, thanks very much indeed.